Social media has 100% changed my entire career. I went from working in community mental health to full-time private practice within a year and a half of starting social media. Let's rewind all the way back to the beginning and I'll tell you exactly how I got here, everything I've learned so far, the ups, the downs, the pros, the cons, and of course a Q&A in the comment section. This takes us all the way back to December 2019. So I had known that I wanted to do private practice at some point, and at that point in time I was working in community mental health. I went to a very good friend of mine who is actually now working with me, and I said, hey, you know what, I have this idea of, being a therapist on Instagram. What do you think about it? It feels a little bit weird. There's not a crazy amount of people doing it. And she told me, Simone, do your thing, go for it, do it. From that point onward, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. My main objective in the very beginning was just to provide psychoeducation, because I saw that you could scour the internet and find literally everything about your physical health, but it was so much harder to find things about your mental health. And even if you did find information about your mental health, a lot of it was very clinical and jargony and wasn't user-friendly, essentially. And so I wanted to put out mental health information that was easy to digest, that people could read and understand, so that you wouldn't have to go to a therapist or go to a doctor to understand some of these terms or experiences. So when I started out, I was doing very simple infographics. My color palette was pink and navy blue and gold. It worked for the most part for a period of time. Even though this was something I really wanted to do, I felt very embarrassed and weird about even putting myself out there on the platform like that. I didn't put my name on my Instagram. I didn't show my face on my Instagram, nothing. It was just the cognitive corner and putting out information. It wasn't until I hit a certain point, and I don't remember what point exactly that was, where I decided to introduce myself on the page and actually show my face. And that was a very vulnerable moment for me, because I was like, okay, friends, family, other people I know are going to see this. And it felt super vulnerable to me, because this was something that was A, my baby, and B, not a lot of people were doing, no one I know was doing it, and so it felt a little bit scary. When I did start social media as a therapist, there were people that judged me, that kind of thought I was wasting my time, didn't really know why I was putting so much time and energy and effort into it. And I'm very thankful that I didn't listen to any of those voices, because social media has 100% changed my entire career. I went from working in community mental health to full-time private practice within a year and a half of starting social media. And now I've been on social media for what will be 3 years this December. So in terms of growing my following, I know that everybody has said this, but consistency was the biggest thing that helped me in building relationships with other creators. So I noticed that the times where I would take breaks, or I just wouldn't feel motivated and would kind of fall off of social media, that of course there would be no movement. And there was a time where I fully stopped social media and I didn't know if I actually wanted to go back. And that was during the pandemic. So it took me just under 1 year to get just over 1,000 Instagram followers. And I remember the summer of 2020, I had a post that went not viral, but viral for my account size. That's what kind of started to shift everything. From there, my following grew fairly quickly between August of 2020 to March of 2021. I joined TikTok in February of 2021, and that's what blew up the fastest and also trickled down to all of my other accounts. Like I said, my TikTok grew fairly fast, so I was at 10,000 followers within 1 month. While I was doing social media, I was still working in community mental health. Initially, my plan was to start up private practice in March of 2021, and then eventually, if I could go full-time by October 2021, I would try and do that. I was in a position where I was switching roles in the clinic that I was at, and so I was waiting for the interview process. So the interview process took a few weeks, but within that few weeks, I had joined TikTok and blew up fairly fast. I got a ton of emails rolling in around when am I going to start private practice, when am I going to start seeing people, when am I accepting new clients, and I just took that as a sign to take the leap of faith and do it full-time, because I knew that I was not going to be able to do private practice full-time and do a 0.8, which would be 4 days a week at another job. That was probably the scariest decision of my life, because I had anxiety all of the time. I was thinking about, what if my private practice shuts down? What if people don't want to work with me anymore? What if the social media thing was very short-lived and I should have taken another job because it has better job security? And the thoughts just go around and around and around and around. But I saw social media as a funnel for clients as well, to help my business. and I just ran with it. So I knew that I had to continue making content, and that just had to be a part of my business strategy as well. So this past spring, it marked 1 year since I went into private practice full time, and it has been the best decision of my life. The work-life balance is honestly incredible, and being able to show up as myself as a therapist is the biggest thing for me. Let's talk ethics, because a lot of concerns around the older generation of therapists are you should be a blank slate, people shouldn't see your personal life, people shouldn't see your personality, and I don't fully subscribe to that. My personal belief and my personal values around therapy is that it is important for my clients to know that I am just as human as they are, and that I can relate to some of the things that they've been through. Will I tell them about my experiences? No, because it's not about me. But it's about being able to know that your therapist is also human, not just this blank slate sitting across from you taking notes and analyzing you. And I'm also very aware that my style of therapy isn't for everyone, and that's absolutely okay. I think the biggest thing for me is that I have attracted clients that want to work with someone who does therapy like I do. And so that has helped a lot with work-life balance and burnout, because I feel like I can let my personality shine and clients can get to know me in a way that's very appropriate in a therapeutic relationship while also very comfortable. In terms of me being on social media as a therapist, there are bits and pieces of my life that I do show when I do day in the life videos and stuff like that. And I think that boundaries are very important. I always come from a place of I don't upload anything that I would be uncomfortable with my clients seeing. So if there is something that I share on TikTok or on Instagram or on YouTube or wherever else, then I am fully aware that a client probably will see that. So if there's things that I would rather keep to myself, or there's things that I would feel uncomfortable with my clients knowing about me, I just won't post it. So I think it's just really about being mindful of the boundaries that you have and not oversharing, because it's the internet and anybody has access to that information. It's also part of the paperwork that I give clients, and they know that I am on social media, and the paperwork just tells them that they are able to engage with my social media as much or as little as they want to. But if you decide to comment on a video and say, oh, that's my therapist, that compromises your own confidentiality. And so just being mindful of some of those interactions. The feedback that I've gotten from clients as well is that it's often been helpful for clients to get a sense of who I am, what I stand for, all of those things, and decide on their own if they want to work with me. And if they do, or if they think they do want to work with me, then they can have a free consultation, and then we can suss it out together. Okay, let's talk pros and cons. I've listed a lot of pros already, which is that social media has 100% changed my business. It's allowed me to have incredible work-life balance. It allows me to show up authentically with my clients and in my practice. I also don't have to worry about speaking on social issues. I can communicate that in whatever way feels comfortable to me, and I think that's also a very important part of my practice, is that clients know where I stand on human rights and social issues. Another pro is that social media is an additional source of income for me, which has been great in terms of doing brand deals and all of that kind of stuff. I'll get into that later in the video. It's also kind of fun sometimes to break up the monotony of being a therapist full-time and do some content creation, do things that are creative, because I love doing things that are creative. Now the cons, that's the real tea. When I tell you it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work. From the outside, content creation seems easy. When I was a consumer of content creation, I was like, I could do this no problem. This could easily be a part-time job, da-da-da. And then you do it and you're like, bruh, Lord. What I will say is that it's hard to show up when you don't want to, or if you're going through stuff. It is hard to set up your camera, set up your tripod, your phone, whatever it is, and give mental health tips or just talk to your audience as if nothing's going on. And I'm a full advocate for transparency and humanness and showing the good times and the bad times. But I also think if we go back to that point around ethics, there are certain things that I would love to share about my personal day-to-day life and things that I would like to keep to myself or keep private. And so I think that if you're going through things that you keep private, then it's kind of hard to show up. If content creation is a hobby, it takes the pressure off a lot. But if content creation is part of your career, then pressure is laid on thick. Another con is that if you are relying on social media solely for your full-time income, it can be fairly inconsistent in terms of brand deals and all of that kind of stuff. I think another con is that sometimes the pressure takes the fun out of it a little bit. Before, when I was talking about, you know, the times where you have to show up even though you don't want to show up, creativity doesn't spark all the time. It is not an on and off switch. And sometimes up here it is tumbleweeds. So there's times where I absolutely have so much fun making content and recording and creating and all of those things. And other times when I don't have any ideas and I'm just like, shit, I gotta come up with something. I don't know if this is a con, but this is something that I found really challenging, is that nobody teaches you anything about the business world. So private practice, that was a challenge for me in terms of just the business mindset of everything, because I have a social work background and they do not teach you anything about that. Content creation, the social media, influencer world, that is not something that you're taught about anywhere. You kind of have to find your own information and figure it out on your own. So media kits, negotiation, contracts, all of that kind of stuff. I had no idea what was going on in the beginning. And it took so much trial and error, and to be quite honest with you, being severely underpaid by some brands, because I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what was the norm. I didn't know how much I should be charging, any of those kinds of things. So that was something that I found really challenging throughout this whole process. In terms of working with brands, because I am a mental health content creator, that is kind of the partnerships that I have gotten so far. And again, that was a whole other world to me in terms of really understanding how ads even work. Before I started any of this, I assumed that when creators did paid partnerships, they just shot the video, uploaded it, and got paid. But there's so many different things that go into it in terms of the back and forth, reshooting, editing, caption approvals, hashtag approvals, analytic updates. So it's definitely not a walk in the park like it seems like on social media. So overall, across all platforms, I have over 325,000 followers, and that just continues to grow on a day-to-day and week-to-week basis, which I'm so incredibly proud of and thankful for, because all of this wouldn't have been possible without the community that I've built and people just showing up for me. It is a lot of hard work and it can feel super vulnerable at times, but what I will say is do it anyways. Do it anyways. If this is something that you want, if this is something that you want as a part of your career, whether it's full-time or part-time or just to boost something that you already are doing, do it. Because I think that social media has the power to change lives, and I've seen that especially in the mental health community. TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. It has been so incredible to see the normalization of mental health experiences and just the communities of people feeling seen and heard in their experiences. People being like, oh, you experienced that too, or oh, you're like that too? I didn't know, I thought I was the only one. And it takes so much of the shame away from it. And so if there's one thing that I leave you with, if you're on the precipice of deciding, should I do it, should I not do it, do it. What's the worst that can happen? If there's any questions that you have about my journey or anything, I am a fairly open book. So drop those questions in the comments, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.